Namaskar. A warm welcome to World News and Indian Perspective on All India Radio. This is R.S. Raghu, and with me is Renu Kataria, bringing glimpses of the major developments of the day from across the globe. Over the next half an hour, we shall bring you the latest from the world of politics, economy, sports, entertainment and more. The headlines. 14th round of commander-level talks between India and China concludes at Chushul-Moldo border. U.S. State Department study finds China's maritime claims in the South China Sea unlawful. India and the UK launch negotiations over free trade agreement. Russia and NATO fail to achieve breakthrough to resolve tensions over the Ukraine issue. CSTO troops begin withdrawal from Kazakhstan as Russia announces end of operations. Prime Minister Narendra Modi reviews COVID-19 situation with chief ministers of all states, expresses confidence that India will emerge victorious with everyone's efforts. India's Student Innovator and Earthshot Prize finalist Vinisha Umashankar selected as baton bearer for the 16th official Queen's Baton Relay. And 35 Indian films to be showcased at the 20th Dhaka International Film Festival. In badminton, PV Sindhu and HS Pranoy advance to the singles quarterfinals of the Indian Open. Saina Nehwal crashes out. And in cricket, India set 212-run target riding on Rishabh Pant's century before South Africa in the series decider test at Cape Town. As the number of COVID-19 cases are rising fast in several parts of the country, we appeal to our listeners to be vigilant and get fully vaccinated and help others, including children between 15 and 18 years, to get vaccinated. As the new Omicron variant of coronavirus is causing concern, please continue to follow the 3 simple steps to stay safe. Wear a face mask, maintain 2 gaz ki duri for social distancing, and focus on hand and face hygiene. For any COVID-related information and guidance, contact the national helpline numbers 011-2397-8046 and 1075. And now, the news in detail. The 14th round of India-China Corps Commander level meeting was held at Chushul-Moldo border meeting point on the Chinese side on Wednesday. A joint statement released by India's Defence Ministry said both sides had a frank and in-depth exchange of views for the resolution of the relevant issues along the LAC in the western sector. They agreed that both sides should follow the guidance provided by the state leaders and work for the resolution of the remaining issues at the earliest. To throw some more light on the significance of the talks and the events leading up to them, we are joined by Prasar Bharati Special Correspondent in Beijing, Anshuman Mishra. So Anshuman, what are the key takeaways from the joint statement emerging from the 14th round of talks that got concluded Monday night?
The joint statement portrays some sort of positivity even though it lacks any tangible outcomes in terms of disengagement and other friction points. This is definitely a progress as compared to the 13th round of talks in October when both sides issued separate statements. The two sides also agreed to consolidate on the previous outcomes and to stay in close contact and maintain dialogue and work out a mutually acceptable solution of the remaining issues at the earliest. Hopefully the next round of commander talks are held at the earliest and both the sides can reach at an agreeable solution.
Now, India has maintained that the current impasse is a result of the unilateral actions taken by China on India's eastern border in Ladakh. Can you walk us through the events that led to the current situation?
External Affairs Minister has on many occasions said that China has provided many different accounts of the situation at LAC and none of them are credible. So after Chinese unilateral actions in May 2020 and disengagement in Galwan in September 2020, the next big disengagement took place in February 2021, almost after 6 months. After that, it took another 6 months to disengage at Gogra in August 2021. That time also it was totally silent in China. There was no news, almost no news in domestic media. So that also gives some message as if they did not want to portray it to the domestic audience. During all this course, China never agreed to India's demand for restoration of the status quo of April 2020 and kept building up infrastructure at border and amassed troops. Current impasse can be described in former Indian Ambassador Vikram Misri's statement that China should avoid shifting goalposts and should not confuse the current issue related to border management with the larger boundary issue, for example, making different interpretations of LAC, etc.
Now, what does the Chinese government have to say about the matter, and what are your views on them?
The Chinese government has maintained that both sides are committed to maintaining peace and tranquility in border areas and are in communication with the Indian side to resolve the issue. But they have their own perception of the status quo, which has complicated the things a little bit in last 2 years. Observers say that China may keep delaying this in a bid to prepare itself militarily at the border with India, and even though the disengagement at all the friction points which came into existence after May 2020 happens, China may try to still maintain this new normal. The protocols, agreements which were there may be required to be modified. To add to all this conundrum, China has enacted its land border law, which may complicate the matters further in the larger boundary question.
Now, the U.S. has weighed in on the matter, and earlier this week, the White House said that they continue to monitor the situation on the line of actual control. The U.S. also expressed concern over the increasing assertiveness of China on its borders with its neighbors. Where else does China have friction with its neighbors regarding its borders? What does the international community have to say about them?
China's official position is that it has issues related to land borders with India and Bhutan. However, maritime border issues are abound, and most importantly in the South China Sea, where China flexes muscles on overlapping claims with many countries on various islands. China also has maritime border disputes with Japan over Senkaku Islands. Taiwan Strait is another highly volatile region where U.S. and other world powers have warned China over any unilateral actions. U.S. has few days ago said that China's historic claims in South China Sea is absurd, where international arbitration ruling also was discarded, rejected by China. Most of the major world powers have called out China's belligerence with its neighbors. And the latest news is that China's former ambassador to U.S. has said that China's current diplomacy is missing the grand picture. So this statement gives a very profound message. He also took a dig at China's wolf warrior diplomats for engaging in a war of words. He indicated that China has logged itself in a war of attrition with the U.S. without making careful preparations.
Thank you, Anshuman, for your inputs. That was Anshuman Mishra, our special correspondent in Beijing. Meanwhile, the U.S. State Department has released a study on China's maritime claims in the South China Sea. The study, titled Limits in the Seas, concludes that China asserts unlawful maritime claims in most of the South China Sea, including an unlawful historic rights claim. In a statement, the U.S. State Department said that the study builds on the 2014 analysis of the China's ambiguous dashed line claim in the South China Sea. The claims were held as arbitrary and illegal by the Permanent Court of Arbitration in 2016. The United States called on China once again to conform its maritime claims to international laws as reflected in the UN Convention on the Law of the Sea and comply with the decision of the Arbitral Tribunal in its award.
India and the UK have formally launched negotiations for a free trade agreement, FTA, between the two countries. A joint statement by the Commerce and Industry Minister Piyush Goyal and UK Secretary of State for International Trade Anne-Marie Trevelyan said the FTA would be a substantial opportunity for both economies and a significant moment in the bilateral relationship. The India-UK bilateral trading relationship is already significant, and both sides have agreed to double that bilateral trade by 2030 as part of Roadmap 2030 announced by Prime Minister Narendra Modi and British Prime Minister Boris Johnson in May last year. The joint statement said India and the UK will seek to agree a mutually beneficial agreement supporting jobs, businesses and communities in both countries. It said trade negotiations will be a priority for both countries. During negotiations, both governments will consider the option of an interim agreement that generates early benefits for both countries. In parallel to trade negotiations, the India-UK Joint Economic and Trade Committee will continue to work in improving the India-UK trading relationship and addressing market access barriers outside of a trade agreement. Both parties have agreed that the first round of negotiations will begin on 17th of January and future rounds of negotiations will take approximately every 5 weeks. Meanwhile, India's External Affairs Minister Jaishankar met UK Secretary of State for International Trade and Maritime. In a tweet, the minister welcomed the launch of FTA negotiations. He added that New India and Global Britain can make a bigger difference working together. The UK government said that the deal would be a big step forward in the UK's strategy to refocus trade on the Indo-Pacific. Talks between Russia and the Western allies under NATO appears to have hit a dead end on Thursday. Both sides have dismissed each other's demands as non-starters as the US termed Russia's actions along Ukraine's borders as an unprovoked military build-up. Deputy Secretary of State of the US, Wendy Sherman, in a statement as part of NATO on Wednesday, said that Moscow is using increasingly aggressive rhetoric and propaganda. Russia, however, said that it was hitting a dead end in its efforts to persuade the West to bar Ukraine from joining NATO on Thursday. Russia is skeptical of the NATO's designs in the region and demands a rollback of the alliance in Europe. According to reports, Russia also threatened unspecified consequences in response. Deputy Secretary Sherman said that the NATO follows an open-door policy and is open to any country that is willing to join the alliance and abide by its principles. She also said that the G7 leaders are preparing a coordinated response including sanctions against Russia if Russia continues its military build-up. She called on Russia to de-escalate tensions and give diplomacy the chance to succeed.
Peacekeepers of the Collective Security Treaty Organization CSTO began withdrawing from Kazakhstan on Thursday. Moscow-led CSTO is seen widely as Russia's answer to NATO and was deployed to quell the recent unrest in Kazakhstan. Over 2,000 Russia-led troops were deployed when peaceful protests over an energy price hike turned into unprecedented violence, claiming dozens of lives in the Central Asian nation. According to reports, Russia's defense ministry in a statement said that the collective peacekeeping forces are returning to the points of permanent deployment.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Thursday expressed confidence that India will definitely emerge victorious against COVID with everyone's efforts. He was interacting with chief ministers of all states this evening through video conferencing.
हमारा एकमात्र पथ है और विजय एकमात्र विकल्प. हम 130 करोड़ भारत के लोग अपने प्रयासों से कोरोना से जीतकर अवश्य निकलेंगे और आप सबसे जो बातें मैंने सुनी हैं उसमें भी वही विश्वास प्रकट हो रहा है.
Mr. Modi said India's battle with the biggest pandemic of 100 years has now entered its third year and hard work is the only path and victory the only option. He added that the Omicron variant is infecting people at several times faster rate than the previous variant. The Prime Minister said the preemptive, proactive and collective approach adopted by central and state governments last time is the mantra of victory this time as well.
पहले केंद्र और राज्य सरकारों ने जिस तरह प्रिएम्प्टिव, प्रोएक्टिव और कलेक्टिव अप्रोच अपनाई है वही इस समय की जीत का मंत्र है. कोरोना संक्रमण को हम जितना सीमित रख पाएंगे परेशानी उतनी ही कम होगी. हमें जागरूकता के फ्रंट पर साइंस आधारित जानकारियों को बल देने के साथ ही अपने मेडिकल इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर को, मेडिकल मैन पावर को स्केल अप करते ही रहना पड़ेगा.
Mr. Modi said Made in India vaccines are proving their superiority all over the world. He said it is a matter of pride for everyone that today India has given the first dose to about 92% of the adult population. The Prime Minister said this shows India's potential and preparedness to deal with this challenge. He also laid stress on intensifying the Har Ghar Dastak, India's door-to-door vaccination campaign for 100% vaccination. The Prime Minister said that the sooner the precautionary dose is applied to the frontline workers and senior citizens, the more the capacity of healthcare system will increase. He said it would be better to focus on local containment. He added that there should be minimum damage to the livelihood of the common people and economic activities. During the meeting, the Prime Minister reviewed the COVID situation in the country and took stock of the measures implemented to curb the spread of the infection. The meeting was held amidst a surge in COVID-19 cases in the country, driven by the Omicron variant.
The media in Afghanistan is facing serious threat and restrictions since the Taliban took power in the country. Sources said that the clampdown is particularly severe in the Hazara-populated provinces. Taliban in Daikondi province has instructed all Hazara ethnic journalists to learn Pashto language and avoid publishing of news that is against the Taliban. Taliban instructed that all the journalists should be able to speak in Pashto and Dari languages. Sources also added that the Taliban is placing conditions for Hazaras in Daikondi to either learn Pashto or leave their job. Meanwhile, Taliban have assaulted Noor Mohammad Hashimi in charge of Salam Media House in Kabul city. Hashimi is a Shiite Muslim news publisher. The Taliban has also jailed Faisal Modaris, a Tajik ethnic. Modaris was covering and publishing the videos of women protesters in Panjshir province through his YouTube channel named Kabul Lovers. The channel has over 200,000 subscribers.
External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar on Thursday spoke to Kenya's Cabinet Secretary for Foreign Affairs, Rachel Omamo, over phone. They reviewed bilateral progress over the last year and also discussed Commonwealth and regional issues. In today's Hotspot section, we bring you a commentary on India's humanitarian aid and other assistance to Afghanistan.
Afghanistan is going through tough times. With a harsh winter around, shortage of food supplies and health facilities have added to the woes of the people. In view of the challenging humanitarian situation there, India acted quickly and dispatched 1.6 tons of medicines from Delhi to Kabul by a special flight operated by Calm Air on 11th of December. This flight had brought 10 Indian and 94 Afghan nationals from Kabul to New Delhi. The medicines were handed over to the representatives of the World Health Organization in Kabul for use at the Indira Gandhi Children's Hospital in Kabul. Appropriately labelled Gift from the People of India to the People of Afghanistan, this was the first consignment sent by India after Taliban took control of Afghanistan in August last year. Taliban spokesperson for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Abdul Kahar Balki, appreciated the medicine supplies to Indira Gandhi Children's Hospital in Kabul. The Afghan ambassador to India, Farid Mamunzai, took to Twitter to thank India and posted, "These life-saving medicines would help many families in Afghanistan in this difficult time." On 1st of January, India sent 500,000 doses of Covaxin to Kabul by a flight of Iran's Mahan Air. These were handed over to Indira Gandhi Children's Hospital in Kabul. It was also announced that another batch of 500,000 doses would be supplied in the coming weeks. True to the spirit of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, New Delhi pledged to provide more medicines and food grains for the country reeling in hunger and distress. A week later, India followed up with the third tranche of medical assistance. 2 tons of essential life-saving medicines were delivered to Kabul on 7th January. In a statement, the External Affairs Ministry said, India stands committed to continue our special relationship with the people of Afghanistan and provide them humanitarian assistance. Taliban spokesman Zabiullah Mujahid lauded India's contribution and tweeted, "The Islamic Emirate is grateful to India for its humanitarian assistance and cooperation." India's gesture has been appreciated by the neighboring countries. Iran's Foreign Minister Hossein Amir Abdollahian spoke to External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar on phone and offered to help India in the transportation of wheat, medicines and COVID vaccines to Afghanistan. India can in fact send the aid to Afghanistan via the Chabahar port in Iran, which is being developed jointly by the two nations. In 2020, India had supplied 75,000 metric tons of wheat to Afghanistan through this route. It may provide a way out to supply wheat to Afghanistan when negotiations between India and Pakistan are on for the past 3 months to discuss the modalities for the delivery of 50,000 metric tons of wheat through Wagah Atari border. It may be recalled that in October 2021, New Delhi announced 50,000 metric tons of wheat for Afghanistan as humanitarian assistance and requested Islamabad to ship the food grains via the Wagah border. External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar, in a speech delivered on 13 September, had sought unimpeded, unrestricted and direct access to Afghanistan for ensuring supply of assistance to the Afghanistan population. India supported the UN Security Council resolution in December last year to help the aid reach desperate Afghans without violating the sanctions. In the past also, it has been amongst the largest regional donors for Afghanistan, having invested over $3 billion in more than 500 development projects across the country. The Delhi Declaration on Afghanistan, adopted at the Regional Security Dialogue by the National Security Advisors of the region in November 21, called for providing assistance to the Afghan people in an unimpeded, direct and assured manner. And it said that the aid should be distributed in a non-discriminatory manner across all the sections of the society. India's outreach for the war-ravaged nation comes at a time when the United Nations has appealed to the global community to provide $5 billion for Afghanistan. It says that 22 million people inside Afghanistan and a further 5.7 million displaced Afghans in 5 neighboring countries need vital relief this year. According to the World Food Programme, nearly 23 million Afghans, more than half the country's population, are facing acute food shortage. India's assistance with 1.6 metric tons of medicines and injections, 500,000 vaccines, promise of additional jabs, 2 lakh tons of life-saving medicines, and 50,000 tons of wheat is a reflection of its commitment for the Afghan people. Indeed, a welcome step which augurs well for the two neighbors in times to come.
This is All India Radio giving you the news. For quick news updates round the clock, follow us on Twitter at AIR News Alerts.
Dhaka International Film Festival will be inaugurated on Saturday. The biggest film festival of Bangladesh is being organized with participation from across the world. Our special correspondent from Dhaka has sent this report.
The biggest and the most popular film festival is back in Dhaka for its 20th edition. The festival will be inaugurated on 15th January and it will continue till January 23rd at multiple venues in Dhaka. The festival will showcase 225 films from 70 countries under 10 categories. More than 50 foreign delegates will participate in the festival. The film festival is being organized in a hybrid mode with many films being streamed online during the festival. 35 Indian films are being shown during the festival under various categories. The Indian entries include films like Kuzangal, directed by P. Vinod Raj, Abhijatrik, directed by Shubhrajit Mitra, Maya Jonjal, directed by Indranil Roy Chaudhary, and Andal, directed by Sharif Isa, among the 35 entries. The retrospective section will screen 5 films by the great Japanese filmmaker and screenwriter Yasujiro Ozu. Several conferences are also scheduled to be held during the 9-day festival. The festival will be inaugurated on January 15th by the Foreign Minister of Bangladesh, Dr. A.K. Abdul Momin. Bangladesh State Minister for Culture, K.M. Khalid, and High Commissioner of India to Bangladesh, Vikram Doraiswamy, will be special guests on the occasion. Rajesh Jha, World News, All India Radio, Dhaka.
Moving on to sports. In badminton, 2-time Olympic medalist shuttler PV Sindhu and HS Pranoy advanced to the singles quarterfinals, but Saina Nehwal's campaign ended at the India Open Badminton in Delhi on Thursday. Former champion and 2012 Olympic bronze medalist Saina suffered a 17-21, 9-21 straight game loss to compatriot Malvika Bansod. Earlier, top seed Sindhu comfortably defeated compatriot Ira Sharma 21-10, 21-10. She will meet compatriot Ashmita Chaliha in the quarterfinals. Malvika will next take on fellow Indian Akarshi Kashyap in the quarterfinals. Pranoy received a walkover as his opponent Mithun Manjunath withdrew from the tournament after testing positive for COVID-19. In football, in the Africa Cup of Nations, Cote d'Ivoire registered a win over Equatorial Guinea. The African footballing giant won the match 1-0. In cricket, chasing the target 212 runs set by India, South Africa were 101 for 2 in the second innings at stumps on day 3 of the decisive third test against India at the Newlands in Cape Town. Proteas skipper D.N. Elgar was removed by Jasprit Bumrah on the last ball of day 3 after adding 78 runs with Keegan Peterson for the second wicket. Peterson with 48 is currently unbeaten at the crease. Mohammad Shami is the other wicket taker for India in the fourth innings.
Vinisha Umashankar, a student, innovator turned environmentalist from Thiruvannamalai district of Tamil Nadu, has been selected as changemaker and baton bearer for the ongoing 16th official Queen's Baton Relay in India. The young innovator and budding environmentalist Vinisha has been an inspiration for many, and that was an important driver for being selected as a baton bearer. Vinisha Umashankar was conferred with Ignite 2019 award for NIF for solar ironing cart and was subsequently supported for prototype development, technology readiness level TRL, upgradation and intellectual property rights IPR protection. 15-year-old Vinisha Umashankar, who is also an Earthshot Prize finalist to Clean Our Air, had addressed world leaders at the COP26 in a remarkable speech. A quick look at the headlines once again. 14th round of commander-level talks between India and China concludes at Chushul-Moldo border. U.S. State Department study finds China's maritime claims in the South China Sea unlawful. India and the UK launch negotiations over free trade agreement. Russia and NATO failed to achieve breakthrough to resolve tensions over the Ukraine issue. CSTO troops begin withdrawal from Kazakhstan as Russia announces end of operations. Prime Minister Narendra Modi reviews COVID-19 situation with chief ministers of all states, expresses confidence that India will emerge victorious with everyone's efforts. India's student innovator and Earthshot Prize finalist Vinisha Umashankar selected as a baton bearer for the 16th official Queen's Baton Relay. 35 Indian films to be showcased at the 20th Dhaka International Film Festival. In badminton, PV Sindhu and HS Pranoy advanced to the singles quarterfinals of the Indian Open. Saina Nehwal crashes out. And in cricket, India set 212-run target riding on Rishabh Pant's century before South Africa in the series decider test at Cape Town. And now, before we end, let us listen to Mahatma Gandhi's favorite bhajan, Vaishnav Jan, by artists from Kenya. And with that, we end this bulletin. We'll be back at the same time tomorrow with the next edition of World News.